UFC 315 just wrapped up, and honestly, it was an amazing card. It played out to be great. Still inexcusable as far as an on paper card goes, but in performance, it looked amazing. Before everyone clowns on me and says I got to pick wrong, yeah, I got to pick wrong. Actually, I got two, but I still went 10 for 12 on the card. So you clown me all you want, but show me your picks, and then we'll see who had better picks. Nah, but it's cool. It's cool. This fight was an absolute war. I thought Bilal Muhammad would win. I thought he'd shoot way more takedowns, have the volume kind of like a Marab style. That's kind of what he did to Leon, but Bilal was striking more. When he did go for takedowns, JDM looked phenomenal defending him. It's also worth noting how much better JDM got with his takedown defense. Like his Craig Jones training paid off 100%. It was an amazing fight. I had it like 3-2, could have been 4-1. I think Bilal won the fourth, and any of the first three rounds were kind of close. Maybe, what was it, like the second round? Or maybe the first? I don't know. One of those is either first or second, like JDM also definitely won, but yeah, I thought it was 2-2 going into the fifth. And obviously JDM, Bilal got that beautiful takedown. It was a toss, I believe. And then JDM, amazing job scrambling up, and he put it on Bilal, pause, and just hit him with some clean shots. Did a ton of damage. Cut Bilal's lip up, his eye. He broke his orbital. What else did he do? Broken orbital, split lip. I don't know, like a cut or something. Oh, nose. He broke Bilal's nose. Yeah, JDM looked amazing, and I 100% underrated him. He's gotten way better since his last Gilbert Burns fight, and I should have accounted for that. So I apologize, but I still went 10 for 12. The other fight I missed was Alexa Grasso, but let's call it what it is. I just literally flipped the coin and picked Grasso. Yeah, call me casual, but I don't dive deep into WMMA too often. And then Aldo and Kutilaba, they won. I don't care what the judges say. I'll get to that later, though, but we have a new welterweight champ, and it's an interesting matchup now, We got Islam Makhachev fighting him at Perth. And then who's Bilal going to fight? I think he needs to fight Gary Bilal. If Ian wins that, Ian gets a title shot. We already got quite a line at welterweight, though. Usman and Buckley, they're fighting here soon, presumably for a title shot. You got Shavkat waiting in the wings. It's kind of a mess. It's going to be a long hold up, but welterweight's definitely a little constipated right now. And this just made things a lot stickier. Pause. I will say, I think JDM can give Islam a run for his money. I really do. If he improves his grappling another level like he did between the Burns and Bilal fight, Islam's going to have a tough night. JDM is a lot bigger than Islam. And I know Islam's a big 55er, but this is a different ballgame. And I don't know. I don't think Islam's going to be able to take those shots like Bilal did. Also, we got to talk about how Bilal is almost 100% certainly on gear. You can just look at his transformation between 30 and 35. Out of nowhere, he just built all this muscle. His cardio got better. And I think it could be something like EPO mixed with test. He's getting older. He probably started taking some tests. And if anyone remembers, there's a story of DJ. He put an absolute beating on one of the guys, Demetrius Johnson, one of his opponents. Knees, punches just broke him down completely. And DJ's father comes up and he's like, that dude's 100% not natural. And sure enough, a couple weeks later, he pops for EPO. When you take gear, not only can you perform better and have a higher output, but you can also take more damage. And that's what Bilal showed here. Earlier in Bilal's career, he's been dropped a numerous amount of times. Jeff Neal had him flying all over the octagon. Who else dropped him? Vicente Luque. His chin's good, don't get me wrong, but it's not. He wouldn't have taken those shots pre-body transformation. That's all I'm saying. This isn't even some conspiracy. This is like a genuine belief I have. I'm almost 100% certain Bilal's on gear, and the fact that JDM still beat him is insane. Next, he's going to have to fight Islam Makhachev, who also is likely on gear. Everyone that trains in Dagestan is probably on gear. Not to mention, Islam Makhachev already popped before in his UFC career. No one talks about that, though. Does this mean we lose the Topuria-Islam fight? Not necessarily. In fact, this could actually make the fight bigger. If Islam wins against JDM and becomes a welterweight champ, and Topuria beats Charles and becomes the interim lightweight champ, when those two fight, it is going to be even bigger than it would be now. Double champ Islam Makhachev coming back down to fight Ilia Topuria, interim lightweight champ, former featherweight champ, coming off a win over Charles Oliveira, which I think Topuria is going to smoke Oliveira. Oliveira is going to be 36 by the time they fight, probably. We already know he's chinny, and Ilya's knocking guys like Max all the way out cold. What do you think he's going to do to Chinny Charles? At the end of the day, I love Charles, but let's just call it what it is. Begin your grieving now if you're a Charles fan, because he's going to lose. Bilal did get some takedowns, but JDM did great getting up, so very good fight. Very pleased with the main event. Glad I woke up to watch it. And that's all I have on it for now. Excited to see how things play out with the lightweight and welterweight picture. Co-main event. All right. So I had this fight on. I just remember I'm walking out. And then next thing you know, I don't even remember falling asleep. But I wake up and it's the middle of round 2. And then I wake up again and it's round 5. And commentators are talking about 2-2 going into the 5th. So I was like, oh shoot, this fight's close. And then I fell asleep again. And then I wake up and it's the decision. And Valentina won. I couldn't tell you what happened. I was asleep. Look, you know how mad I was when it was already 12:30 or something, or maybe it was 12, and we still had to sit through another 5 round fight, let alone a 5 round fight that I have no interest in. It's one of the most annoying feelings you can have as a UFC fan. It's just like, get it over with. They take 20 minutes doing their walkout, got to get their songs, run around the cage. They got to do their post fight interviews. Uh, like, dude, it was brutal. And I'll be honest, I slept through it, so I couldn't tell you what happened here. Oh, Valentina got a knockdown. Good on her. Look, I don't know who's she gonna fight next. Probably the girl that beat Grasso. She should probably retire here. Go out on a win. Aldo versus Sahabi. I'll start with the positive news. Then I'll get into some of my grievances. But this fight was amazing, start to finish. Just one really woke me up. It was almost like vintage Aldo's back. His speed's still there, which is crazy. It's just he doesn't have the durability in the gas tank anymore to go with his speed. That's where his downfall is. And Zahabi looked good, yes, but are we really gonna lie and say Zahabi won the fight? Like, come on. Aldo has the worst history of decisions in the UFC. This guy cannot catch a break. And I think that's something that really upsets me is that 3rd round, people just are like, oh yeah, that's Zahabi's. They don't even think twice about it. If Aldo would have done what he did in the beginning of the round at the end of the round, the judges would have given him that round. He was way closer to finishing the fight. Zahabi took down Aldo, who pretty much pulled guard and hit him with some elbows. But are we forgetting the fact that Aldo almost finished this guy and literally had him out 2, 3 different times, running around the cage, and he soccer kicked him in the head, sent him flying. But Zahabi had some ground and pound, so he wins, right? No, that's not how scoring works. Yes, damage is the criteria, but the criteria that trumps all else is who's closer to finishing the fight, whether it be via submission attempts or knockdowns. And obviously, Aldo was closer to finishing the fight, and I think he won that 3rd round. Uh, round two, round two could have gone to Sahabi, but this was just a brutal robbery. These judges just need to be held accountable. This was the 2nd or 3rd robbery on the card, and it's unacceptable. They're ruining these guys' careers, cutting their pay in half, just because they don't know how to judge. You could get 3 MMA fans like myself off the street, and we'd judge better than these guys do. These old timers who don't even watch the sport. These judges are just awful, and they're in the best seats in the house to do what? Ruin fighters' careers? Like, I'm sorry, but Zahabi did not win this fight. Aldo won, and yeah, you can look at the total strikes, but Aldo was landing the way bigger strikes. It was a horrible call, and it sucks. Too bad Aldo's retired. He couldn't go out on a win. He beat Bautista as well, but he couldn't technically go out on a win. These things just tarnish legacies, dude. Everyone's gonna remember Aldo for losing all these fights, but in reality, he was winning them. Yeah, it's too bad. These judges need to be fired, and they need to be held accountable. Alexa Grasso versus Natalia Silva. I didn't watch this one either, boys. I'm sorry. I was busy. I was occupied with other tasks. I do have a life outside of YouTube and UFC, so I was unable to watch this fight. So for that, I apologize. BSD versus Kylo Prepolek. How do you say it? Prepolek. Yeah, that sounds right. Bilal. He had a dominant win, but he didn't really look that good. He did not look that good. He should have made way easier work of this guy than he did. Should have been a round 1 finish. At least you would have thought so by the odds. And the sad reality is, Benoit Saint Denis is never going to be a champ. He's a fun fighter, but his defense is so poor that it's never going to work. and his chin's just not good enough where he can afford to have bad defense. And then his grappling, yeah, it's good, but you literally saw how that went against Moicano. He got ragdolled. So BSD he's a fun fighter. UFC's got to keep him around. Maybe he got his confidence back and he's gonna go have another good performance, get some of his aura back. You could rebook the Alvarez fight. The UFC kind of just gave him a layup with this guy, and he still couldn't get him out of it in the first round. So hey, these boys came to scrap, and I respect that. Mike Malott looked amazing against Charles Radke. Beautiful finishing sequence, some of the most vicious ground and pound I've seen in a minute. You know, I was telling you, Mike Malott, he had some legitimate hype going into his Neil Magny fight. And then obviously he was winning that whole fight, and then big upset at the end. Magny came from behind and got the finish pause. And it is what it is. It happens. It's the fight game. Everything can turn around in an instant. So Malott still looked amazing. I don't believe he's ranked in welterweight, but you could definitely give him a test. Him versus Carlos Prates if you wanted that. That might be a decent fight. I wouldn't mind that at all. But yeah, this fight was awesome. Amazing finish by Malott. And he's 32, 33, so he doesn't have all the time in the world, but he looked good, dude. He looks pretty good. Andrade versus Chaz Jasmine just got her out of there quick. I didn't know Andrade was 33 till someone told me in my comments. They said that Andrade was younger, and I was like, no way. I feel like Andrade has been around since the Stone Age, but yeah, I guess she's like 33. Jasmine's 35, and Jessica Andrade is probably 60 years old in fight years. You know, she's been around the block, fought the who's. She's beaten the bad apples of this division. She's a killer, but it was Jasmine's night, and she looked phenomenal, so good on Jasmine. Banger fight. Here we go. Robbery of the century. Some judge gave Modestas Bukauskas a 30-27. One of the worst scorecards we have ever seen in the UFC. The UFC is too ashamed to even put up the stats here. That's how bad this robbery was. Ian Cutelaba got robbed blind. He did a great job being humble after the decision, but I'm going to defend him. Just because it's a prelim fight doesn't mean it gets to be swept under the rug. I'll remember this. And everything else, I did actually not get to watch because, like I said, I was busy. All these fights I predicted right, though. Pretty good deal. Marc-Andre Barriault had a violent finish, by the way. Yeah, overall, 315, an amazing card. We have a new champion, and he looks phenomenal. Very excited to see what's to come. Thank you for watching, and happy Mother's Day. Make sure you tell your mother you love her. And, and I'll see you soon.